All right. We're in business. Hi, Adam.
What's up, C?
Happy
It's been a
Friday.
while. Happy Friday
It's
to you.
been it's been so long.
I think about a year
Well,
almost.
yeah. Look, congratulations on that really big milestone earlier this week. It's so exciting that you are working very closely with an enterprise logo who really sees the value in what you have brought to the table with you and your founding team.
Thanks.
So thank you so much for doing this. And let's just go straight into the product. And then
Cool.
at the end, we can yap. But walk me through the product. As you know, my whole background is very much high pressure environments. And so
I
I've
love it.
always been very interested in things like this. And that's why we connected so well early on. So I'm so excited. So I might
Yeah,
ask a lot of questions. So just pretend that I'm a very, very obsessed prospect.
great, great. Okay. Well, C, thanks for the time. So, quick context for Meahana is it's a collaborative platform for when participant input matters. Oftentimes, when you're in meetings or workshops in companies, or you're doing a focus group, or let's say, C, you're trying to sell to a client and you're doing a discovery meeting, what we found is that the junior folks inside some of these big companies, they're not gifted facilitators. They don't have a lot of experience there. And so we've been told the problem often is they have to hire external consultants, but then the challenge is the consultants don't necessarily know the business that well, right? So we're trying to bridge that gap to give everybody the gift of great meeting and great facilitation, and also do it in a more modern way beyond kind of post-it notes and flip charts and PowerPoint to try to make it a little bit more engaging in the way that we run workshops and conversations. So I created a session for us today that's just four activities. And what I wanted to do is take you through this quickly, and then I can kind of deconstruct the different options that are available there. Um, but if you see this screen, if I can ask you to scan this QR code, which is how most of our
Okay.
participants get in,
Interactive. I'm loving it
straight out
already.
the gate, yeah.
Look at that.
And everything's customizable that you'll see in here, but I just gave it my shot to make something interesting for
Cool.
you.
That's the first. I'm in the right place, right?
You are. Yep.
Okay, so I'll put my name and my all my details here.
There you go. There you go.
And the session code is my name. Thank you for
You got
making
it.
that very easy.
You got it.
I'm
Sure.
pressing enter session. And I am now on this next screen here that says data privacy agreement. I accept.
Cool. And I can see on my side now that you're in. I'm in as
Yep.
well. And
Okay.
so we'll cruise forward. So the session that I put together was actually based upon a session I suspect that you run from time to time, which is identifying pain points that your customers or your clients face. And so what you'll notice is you can add your own ideas on your device, right? But I've also
Mm-hmm.
kind of juiced the tip jar a little bit with some of the things that you had on your website. So these are, at least in C's mind, these are some of the things that we would expect customers to add to. But go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
add your own if you want to.
Of a pain point.
Yeah, so imagine that
Um,
you're a customer that you talk to regularly, right?
yeah, okay. They been getting requests of fractional marketing director help.
Cool. I'm going to say strategic insights on the market. So like, I want to suck C's brain. So as you type those in, you'll
No,
notice
it's
that they just
really
sort of those just kind of pop in directly, right? And I can kind of spotlight certain individuals,
yeah.
right? I can drag these things on top of each other. On my side, I can actually start to put, names and numbers against these should I want to, right? Just to make it easier to
And I
debrief.
can just add any time too. So if I'm like, actually, maybe it's they just want a done for you service.
Correct. Yeah, and as you're adding those in, I'm seeing them pop up on my side.
Mm-hmm.
And what I now want to do is just sort of the magic actually is that we're going to take this information and we're going to figure out how important is it to individuals. And so on your screen now, you'll see this. We're going to do a prioritization
Ooh.
exercise. And on your phone, you'll notice that you have 5 dots I've given you. And so in
Uh-huh.
traditional dot voting exercise, you're just going to try to populate those up,
Okay, so
right?
this is just like a voting. This is very interactive. So,
You
oh,
got
this
it.
is really cool. Okay, I'm seeing it all happening real time. Oh my God, it's like the stock market. Just kidding.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Sure. Yeah,
I just get so excited. So, I'm like, it's
sure.
working.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
these
and
are
I can
the,
click it multiple times too, up to 3 times.
you actually get 5 dots, so you can allocate all until you'll see that they,
Oh, okay.
right? And you can
Yes,
actually take,
yes.
we can reallocate once it's going. But at a certain
Yeah.
point, when you have, let's say, 15 people in a room, I can stop the user input. So now on your phone, it sort of blocks that
How
off.
dare you, Adam? You
Yeah,
can
exactly.
control the room and the time.
Yeah,
Wow, it's like you're the master value here.
yeah. And so let's take maybe the top two. So we've kind of agreed
Okay.
as a discovery group that these are the most important ones, expanding market leadership through new product launches or boosting credibility. And now we have a couple of options, right? In terms of we want to do a
Mm-hmm.
deeper exploration on that. And so when I click next, what you'll notice is these show up as sort of category brainstorms on the screen. And I've got a nice little picture of you next to the items that we
Mm-hmm.
selected as the top.
And that's
And
what
now
I
on our
have on my
devices,
screen.
yeah, we're asking people to select one of those pain points and sort of think about why did you select that? Like, why is that such an important pain point to solve? And where might you
Mm-hmm.
need support on that today?
Okay. I'm gonna do, let's say, because the new year's coming around, people want probably credibility. So boosting credibility through customer success. Oh, and then I have to add words.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. This isn't a voting one. You've already selected this one.
okay. So.
Yeah, you got it, right?
Yeah. Top tier collaborator
Yeah,
here, Adam.
there you go. Well, what's sort of fun is I can kind of collapse these categories one at a time, especially when you get a lot of information that's represented.
Mm.
And going a little step further, I can also cluster these things together. And so this says video insights, but imagine you had 15 different items across these two categories, and you wanted to be able to extract just the themes, right? Especially if you're debriefing this in a large focus group setting. And so there's a little bit of AI behind the scenes that allows us to kind of cluster that out.
Mm.
And so this is an exploration activity. You might say, okay, that's interesting, but what if I wanted to go a little bit more of a different option on exploration? So this one is the same type of activity, only we actually select only one at a time, and now everybody has to focus on just that, right? And so
Oh,
on
I
your,
see.
it kind of allows you to slow down the conversation and input. So go ahead and say, what support do you need
Yeah.
from this item, right? And so this is kind of the same style of activity, just a different way to get it.
But this allows and fosters communication of, okay, guys, what's like the actual pros and cons? What are we actually
Exactly.
saying here? Like, what do you think? Well, my objection is yada, yada, yada. And then the other person's like, well, this is really great because we actually have all these other things that we can do and blah, 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 blah. And then the other
Yeah.
person's like, I didn't know about that. And they're like, oh, new news. Well, here we are.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. This activity takes usually like 45 minutes when we get to it. And there's a whole bunch of user, controls on my side that I can
Hmm.
manage in terms of visibility and clustering, sizing the information, et cetera. But it really allows for diverse inputs to allow everybody to have a voice. What we found in facilitating is there's either the silent dissenter who doesn't speak up but doesn't agree with what's being said, or the person who has
Yeah.
the loudest title or the loudest voice, right? That sort of dominates the
Yeah.
conversation. So that's the platform in a nutshell. You've seen three different activities thrown together so far. This is going to just take a second to spit itself out, but this is kind of a summary tool that comes up at the very end. So
Mm.
this is how the session went, right? At the very end, you want to know what was the storyline or the narrative. So here's the ideas that we came up with from pain points. We
Hmm.
prioritized them. These were the ones we thought most about. And then you can see some of our conversational thread there, right?
Hmm. So
So
your meeting notes recap in effect of your takeaway of the session.
you got it. Yeah. And so I want to switch to a different tab and just show you what I'm seeing on my side, right? So let me
Yeah.
give you this. I'm just going to hit entire screen now. There we go. So on my side, I'm seeing this. I'm clicking through these different activities kind of one by one, right? So I'm just sort of moving us through each piece, which is allowing me to then kind of see the data that's kind of inside of each of these, right?
Hmm.
I decided where I want to take these forward. So it's pretty simple to run from that perspective. And then the other part of this is the actual building of this. So I put pictures in and I said everything is customizable. So here's the sort of brainstorm by category, right? Where we put some instructions on here. I put your picture in. You can expand this out and decide what do I want the categories to be, all kinds of different kind of instruction information. But it's pretty simple. And then if I wanted to add something more at the very end, then I would go to my catalog. And here inside of this, you have a whole set of about 30 different activities that are available. So you saw 4 of them today. But some of these are more quantitative. If you want to not just do a popularity vote, which a dot vote kind of is, right? You want to do a gap ranking or a matrix ranking. You want to plot them into a 2x2, or you want to categorize them. So you can have a lot of fun. Think of this as like an artist, toolkit. You can make whatever you like from it. And then see, one thing to note is, not every one of our customers is a design expert. And so we create session templates that already thread together
Oh,
these pieces. So that session that we just went through, that could be your discovery call template, right? And so when you click that, it would just already have the session already built for you. And from there, you would just add that template into the bottom of whatever session you're in. And it just adds all of those. They're already linked together, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is really cool. I mean, like when we first chatted, I immediately was like, wow, this is really helpful just in like the consulting world, but mainly the conversation went to stakeholders.
Sure.
Like any firm, and that's kind of where we had a really great banter. And even now seeing it like this, it really does facilitate so many people at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just communication of like, usually a problem is someone's the bottleneck. Someone.
Sure. Sure.
And it comes to the point that it snowballs for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, what are we all going to do? And then at that point, there's so many human things that happen, right? One, someone didn't speak up that they were supposed to. Someone didn't take accountability. Someone didn't prioritize it. They didn't know how to talk about getting the resources to actually push through. So then these all hands on deck kind of situation of this workshop or the emergency meeting or the all senior management team kind of thing. They all come together like, what the heck are we doing? But then you do it in a professional way, which is the workshop way.
Yeah.
And by doing this, you are then getting people to be on the same page. And what you have created and what I'm seeing the value of, it helps to mediate the situation, to make it very logical and direct, removing the emotions. Like the emotions are still from obviously the humans that are interacting.
Yeah.
But it's really important. And that's why like usually you would hire that third party consultant to manage all of that. But this actually helps to get people to, I think if you're in a corporation and you're so used to people being in silos, you're so used to people like taking a really long time, it's really hard. Like they say, I'm busy, but then you're not busy or you're not maybe prioritizing for the right thing, which is not a really good answer anyways.
Yeah.
But this gets everyone to be on the same page, and then you're mediating through every single step, but there's still a guide. And so even though you're an incredible, powerful facilitator yourself, Adam, but someone would be able to take this as a leader into their company, right? And then the software is really just taking them through of, let's actually talk about the real thing. Because then even in the middle, when you're like, hey, what are your pain points kind of thing, and someone stops there and they're like, look, we just brainstorm all these pain points, or the facilitator put in what they already gathered what the 10 pain points are. And at that point, no one can even agree to go further. You know that there is a bigger problem in the company. And that CEO has to recognize what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
So it's actually a great reflection in the mirror of how smooth your team is actually on page or not from a culture standpoint. Incredible.
Yeah. It's interesting. When I was an external consultant, I would get, paid to come and facilitate working sessions with leaders. And oftentimes the value prop that I would deliver was that, you didn't have to agree with the decision, but you had to trust the process that it took to get there. And that was really powerful. People would always be like, oh yeah, we need that. Like that, we need a facilitator who can do that. So at the end of the day, we tried to simplify the magic that happens in a good workshop and just put it into logical templates that anybody can access. And we're still learning. It's actually really fun when we work with our customers to get feedback from them around what types of activities they want that maybe we don't have, or how do they link activities together in ways that I hadn't thought about. So they're kind of creating their own song, so to speak, with the instrument we've given them.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes, because every single company, they always have their dictionary, right?
yeah,
And so it could be like a simple, like even a RACI workshop, right?
yep,
Of like, let's figure out what's the RACI for this project, or it's, they have something that they have a name for it. And it's not just the label, the name, but they have all these like nuances and stuff like that, which then what's really valuable these template setup, and you have the base foundations that you have mastered in the real world. And what you're able to do is really customize it very tweak in a way. But it kind of reminds me of like Asana, for example, and that's completely different of like project management, but how
yep,
Asana, they, have all those templates based so that you can create and custom for enterprise. And so I'm seeing this as like the meeting facilitated version of it, that's why you have all those different, sessions that's available, and that's very useful, because if there was only one, someone might say, well, we're a different company, we do things our way and blah blah
sure.
blah, and you basically annihilated that objection whatsoever and made it so flexible and adaptable. That's really cool.
Cool. Yeah, we try to think of ourselves more like a Canva business model, right? If you and I wanted to take the template we just created and call it C's Discovery Template for agency work, we could put that template in your own room that only you have access to, or we could put it out on the public market for anybody to get access to. So that the reality is there's a lot of instructional designers that don't work inside of big companies that can get access to this and create cool templates and put them in there and get paid for it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask some fake customer questions.
Yeah, great. Let's go.
So my first question would be, what's the compliance that you have behind the software?
Yeah. We're almost finished with our SOC 2 stamp. It'll come probably in February. So we've been working with Vanta for the last, I don't know, 4 months or so to complete that, and GDPR as well. So that's important for our enterprise clients, and so that's why it's important for us.
And you've been working with Vanta?
We have.
Cool. And then how about how has it been like for the pricing structure? If let's say if I am a freelance consultant that
Yep.
is, working at Deloitte, here and there kind of thing,
Sure.
at that level, or if I am a SMB, or if I am mid-market, or I am enterprise. So all these different kind of, I'm sure you have your pricing model and stuff. So help me explain what
Yeah.
is your pricing tier based on who you would be talking to if I am a interested customer.
So there's sort of a simple answer to that on the pricing page, which is we have a free version which you get access to kind of the most basic of the templates and the activities, the most powerful and popular ones. But you're limited to eight people in a room, right? So you can't run a 30-person workshop, but you can run that as much as you like. And then we have a paid options, which is the professional option, which gives you access to your own room, your own brand, obviously your own templates that you can save in all the different activities. And we charge $110 a month for that. So that's more the professional facilitator that's out there, like the example that you just mentioned. And we do it on an annual contract, so that's $13.20 a year. And then in addition to that, once we get beyond 5 seats, then we start to explore enterprise options where we're giving you more like 20 seats for a fixed fee of say 6,600. And we give you a kind of a dedicated customer success time with us to build sessions and make sure that you're successful. Most of our customers right now are in that camp, right? Where they're consulting companies, they're internal consultants, more so than the solopreneurs, but we certainly have some of those as well.
Yeah. Okay. And then how about let's say went through procurement, all that great stuff,
Yeah,
and now we're ready, kind of thing. So team of firm of 50, let's say firm of
yeah,
50, and we bought 10 licenses, for
Yeah.
example. So what would the next steps look like? What would this onboarding look like? Like
Yeah.
what would the team be able to expect from you and the team?
Probably prior even to that, just to make it clear, we offer a trial period of time, right, to make sure that you're getting value from this before you're signing a contract. So we offer 1 month or 3 month trials. 1 month is no charge. 3 month we do accept a little bit of payment. But during that time period, you're auditioning us and you're seeing, is this actually what you think it's going to be? So I just want to make that clear. We're still a young company where we're not just selling it off of a website, slick page, and taking capital. Beyond that, though, we have biweekly check-ins actually with all of our customers.
Aha.
So Beth, who you know on our customer success, and she asked the question, like, how upset would you be if this tool is no longer available, and what new features and support do you need? So there's a lot of handholding, not because our customers need support. We actually want to learn from them about what's working during this process.
That's awesome. And let's say, okay, we hit security, we hit pricing.
Yeah.
And so what about, let's say if there's so besides the bi-weekly check-in, so what does the communication look like from their end, as in the buyers and the team's end, and how they can communicate with you guys? Is that through the software itself, or is it just complete through a rep, which could be Beth, for example?
Yeah.
Like, what is the process there
So there,
if things go wrong?
Yeah.
On
we,
their time.
we have a kind of a 24/7 support line, right? We have Slack channels that get built for paid customers. For free folks,
Great.
they can put a Slack note. We get pinged with the most bizarre things as you can imagine in there, but we try to pay attention to the customers pretty quickly. The other part of that I just wanted to say is that from a product development perspective, a lot of the new activities that are in our catalog actually came from customer requests. So being a new customer doesn't mean that you have to pay for the new activity that's not there. If you can make a business case as to why you need it, and we can feel like there might be other Cs out there that also need access to an activity like that. That's how our catalog has grown so far.
Amazing. Okay, so then, so what it sounds like is as I'm like, you're just like doing all the right things. Like you're listening to customer
Cool.
feedback, you're putting it
I
into
used
the
to be a
product
consultant,
development.
It's
It's boxes in my head. I'm just like, wow. So tell me a little bit more about maybe some common questions that someone would have asked you during sales calls and stuff like that, that, has
yeah.
kind of come up a few times that you would like to have the opportunity to say it now.
The most common questions that we get are, it's surprising, does this work in person? Because most of the sales calls I'm doing are virtual. And the answer to that is yes. And surprisingly, most of our customers actually use it as an in-person tool. But that question pops up. It's a super powerful in-person, hybrid, or virtual, because the data has no clue as to who it came from, right? It's popping up on the screen, whether you're the person on your phone in India or you're sitting next to the person who's facilitating. The second question comes up with sort of the data access afterwards, meaning that the takeaway
Yes.
that you saw, which was a preview, where else can I use that? Does it just stay stuck on the screen there, right? So it gets
Hmm.
exported as a Google Doc that you can edit and you can add and manipulate. You can make it into a PDF. And then it's also a CSV that you can export into other structured data systems that you have. We do offer some integration support, but that's paid at this point because we're still trying to figure out what customers want. And so like one of our customers wants us to integrate into Microsoft, I think it's called Entrada. And so that work's being done right now. But once that's done, obviously it'll be available for others on the platform as well.
That's awesome. So then when it comes to users and access management, how are you working with IT teams of your customers
Yeah,
to be able to make sure that from an admin control and adding users, like what does that
yeah,
experience look like? Because a lot of your buyers are
totally.
enterprise.
Yeah,
And let's talk more enterprise of how that process looks like so that they know what that experience is and how easy it is for them to,
yeah. So
move forward.
there's two ways to run a session. The one that you just saw is what we call open session, where there's a QR code that anybody who's walking by sees the office at this point could have scanned that in, right? That's great for a sales demo. But we also create closed sessions where you have to give people specific names and email addresses and essentially authenticate them into the session. And what that means is that only those folks are allowed in the session, only they can see the access of the takeaway. And then you can control even from that perspective what parts of takeaway they see, meaning you can create just you're not going to get the whole thing. We're going to erase some of the stuff that was super sensitive. And so that's easy to manage on the takeaway side.
Okay, and then and you're really talking to about like if you have, so let's say enterprises who are dealing with vendors all the time and they want to do sessions together with them and they're not part of their IT at all, but for them to be able to access and everything, you've kind of sorted that out and it doesn't
Yeah, we've
affect
gone through
anything.
the pretty rigorous, security side of it. We also our CTO came from large consulting background and kind of went through the whole ISO and SOC compliance at previous places. And so the platform was really built with security in mind. It wasn't an afterthought that we decided, well, we're a startup, we have to get this stuff straight. I didn't fully, I didn't, fully understand why we're doing all this stuff to begin with, as the CEO of this company, but I trusted John, our CTO, that he was doing the right
Oh.
things, and it seems like it's paid off in terms of how smooth it's been getting through this audit process with some of our enterprise customers so far.
But every CTO is gonna cry after hearing
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
CEO for trusting me.
yeah,
Look. No, that's really humble for you to even say that and give a shout out in that way of and being humble and like, okay, I really didn't know what was going on in that time and why it was so important. And then as you guys were drumming the beat, it's like, oh shoot, this was actually necessary for the sale to actually go through. They really
yeah.
needed this for them to even interact with us from one business to another. So that's really incredible. Adam, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I just want to make a laughable
Yeah,
comment on that last bit. Sometimes when customers ask us to help them on a session, or what would you do here? Sometimes they want creative help, and sometimes they want other kinds of support. But I don't actually have access to
interesting.
I don't have access to their sessions. I don't have access to who's in the session or any of the data that's coming through. And so we sometimes we'll have them share their screen, but we've also created a allow Meahana support access, and that gives me and my team Beth the ability to go like view their session temporarily, which has been super helpful. But it's fun as you're building a software platform and your customers are using it, the internal validation need for me wants to see what people are doing all the time, and you know. Um,
Remote access request,
yeah, so
please.
yeah, and so it's always funny when customers ping you afterwards and like, oh, I ran a session for 200 people yesterday and it was great. You have some questions. I was like, you did? Well,
Yeah.
so the first time you run sessions with customers, you have a little anxiety, like you're giving them the fishing pole on their own and you're stepping away. And
Yes.
we've
I
gotten
love that.
we've gotten over the hump where they'll call us if they need our support versus us needing to
Mm.
know in advance when it's happening.
Okay, so what you're telling me, it's similar to the app. Well, the what Apple does, like Apple's like customer service, is like they will request for permission as well, so that they can go and see. And so it's not like can't do it. It's like you giving them the control to say, hey, can I
Yeah,
go in and like be with you, kind of thing. But I love what you're saying about from the consultancy side of like, oh, can we chat real quick about, sorry,
yeah,
the customer base?
yeah.
Because I think that's just so awesome. So the question is, so who did you, because you like your whole background has been consultancy, like you an incredible consultant, and then
Correct.
you went into this whole startup world and you're like, yo, I'm going to solve some problems because I've seen a whole bunch of them.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
And then how it changed from what you thought it was going to
yeah.
be because of what you thought you were going to solve, and then what you found out along the way, and what that true customer base is, which was complete of a shock, and it really had to change your
Sure.
perspective.
Yeah. So being an external consultant to companies and running a lot of workshops and meetings, I always sort of fancied myself a tinker, somebody that wanted to try new things to deliver value in more creative and interesting ways than what's been done before. And we really started to sell to external consultancies in the beginning. And we were coming up against a little bit of like a velocity issue where we would take the demo, but then there would be this like stall period, and they couldn't find a use case that didn't feel risky, right? Because consultants are brought in when it's a mission critical situation, it's high stakes, it's, people are flying in, and so I'm thinking we're a great tool for when you have a mission critical meeting, right? And the reality is the person who's running a mission critical meeting has a pretty low tolerance for new tools or new technology that are still a bit exploratory in terms of their mind. And so they would start to run these sort of smaller internal meetings to kind of get their own confidence up in using a new type of platform. But the internal consultants at companies, so the folks that are like chiefs of staff, business excellence, continuous improvement leaders, those folks have a much higher tolerance for risk because their meetings are, I guess, lower stakes, they're internal meetings, but they're super critical for their success. And they also have a big pain threshold because the tools that are available for them are like, Google Sheets and like it's messy, and they're running workshops and meetings all the time. And so that has been a big celebration for us, hearing that audience likes to use our tool and is exploring new ways to find value from it.
That is incredible. Isn't it like the best feeling ever?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Well, it's so funny because see when you and I were talking, I guess about a year ago,
yeah.
we were out
Hmm.
at thinking about who's our ICP, right? Every investor and people talk about
Yeah.
that. And at the time, I was still have Dad said that there's all these external consultants, and it's probably not even an external consultant or an internal consultant. It's more type of person, if I'm being honest. It's the type of
Mm.
person that like just won't settle for bad meetings or doing things the way they've been done. The person who wants to challenge the status quo. I wish that was always the same role because it would make outbound marketing a lot easier. But it's really a specific type of individual, more so than a title. You know what I mean?
That is, by the way, your headline. Just letting you know. Like
Yeah.
that should
Okay.
be like that is literally that should be like your headline. For people who don't settle or shit, I
Yeah.
don't settle
Well,
us for on meetings. Whatever
yeah.
that was. Like that's your t-shirt.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I think, it's really interesting how you've come so far, but you've really never gave up. And that's what I'm most proud of you about. And seeing you in this journey, like you really never gave up and you believed so much in it. And even when I first met you at, was it like Pioneer Labs or something for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Seattle. And so I felt this energy from you, and it was the energy of someone who truly, like, just you had so much confidence in, like, I really want to
Yeah.
help someone with their problem. See, help me
Yeah.
understand this. And it was really, really awesome. And that's where, we really hit it off. And Beth, oh my goodness, she's incredible. When she was talking about the product inside and out, Adam, I was just like, wow, you really have an incredible team member who digests this and is really committed to this product as much as you are. And it was just really awesome to see that dynamic, and I really appreciate it. So, and this is why, all the customers that you're onboarding right now, all of the steps that you're taking, kudos to the CTO who's like, security,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you have more, high ticket customers, right? You're in the enterprise
Sure.
game, and the type of brains that you have and all of your experience is truly in the enterprise side. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Of how that would serve in different kind of business environments. So thank you for sharing this with me. And I want to be able to ask one final question to
Sure.
wrap up, because I want to know what did you hear from a customer or someone who used the product?
Yeah.
What did they say to you that just gave you the biggest smile that you had no idea existed on your face?
Yeah. The first customer we ever signed up was an external consultancy, and that was an innovation shop that does work for the government. And they did an in-person session, and they said the technology felt invisible. And I remember how important that was for us because so many meeting tools and technology are that's the opposite of what people would say, right? So you were going through this and you just pop up your phone in person or not, but the focus is on the conversation, the focus is on hearing all the different diverse inputs versus a screen share with like a mouse is moving around all over the place. It's we really tried to simplify what it feels like to be a user on the platform so that there's a more organic input environment that takes place from there. And it sounds like simplification over complexity is probably the thing I'm going for, but the technology felt invisible was like, oh, that's awesome. And it wasn't something that I expected to hear from an in-person session, but it's been a big benefit.
I love that. That is amazing because yeah, I mean, every single day you as much as we love tech and that's our world, I mean, we go through so many issues all the time. So it's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah, if you
it's like
notice it,
for
then it's a
something to
problem, right?
just
Yeah.
yeah. But then it's like, oh my God, I don't even have to like think about it. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, this is awesome. That's really brilliant. Thanks, Adam, for sharing
Sure.
this. And I'm so excited. So I can't wait to hear more about what's down the road for the product and for the startup. I'll
Thank you.
always be watching,
Thank you. Yeah.
supporting you.
Yeah. It's it's a big opportunity from a meeting perspective. I was listening to this. It was a Business Wars podcast this last week. They were talking about
Mm.
impossible meet versus beyond. And there was this note where Alec Baldwin's giving one of them an award and asking the other one on this environmental impact award, how does it feel to be here with your competitor? And one of the Browns, the leader, says that they're not our competitor. The meat industry is our competitor. And so I often get like, how are you better or different from Miro or Mentimeter, which that's a worthy conversation. I can talk about our go-to-market and how our product's different, how we do it
Oh yeah.
differently.
Hmm.
But the real competition, I think, for all of us is to have better meetings, right? To have aligned outcomes, to tap into all the unique collective wisdom that's in a group of individuals. That's our broader goal, and we're trying to desperately find people who believe what we believe that that's an important mission to follow. And then if you're interested in how we're going about doing that, then talk to us.
Love it. Adam, thank you for your time.